Now, has he
Yeah.
ever made any like sexual passes towards you or anything?
Um. Well, when he came up last week, it was he said because he was asking me, through text and stuff, what size of, about my breasts. He said he liked areolas and how big are yours, and when he saw me in person, he said, you don't look like you're a triple D. And he was like, prove it. And I'm like, how am I going to prove that? I'm not going to pull out my breast in my workplace, outside my workplace. And, he was, I guess he was in Alabama where his wife is from, because he told me he was getting a divorce. And he said he was at the hotel. He sent me he FaceTimed me. And he was laying, I guess, in the bed, and he was showing me his underwear. He on this white shirt. I was like, oh, my God, what are you doing? And, yeah. And
Girl, did you get that screenshot? Please tell me you got that screenshot of that man in his drawers.
Because I was just, like, so shocked by it all. I wasn't, to be honest, I'm not on that tip with him. And I think he noticed, that's why he stopped talking to me, that, okay, she's not moved by what I got.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Little Black Book. You know what time it is. Welcome. We're talking to you guys about John Gray alleged cheating. Yes, again, unfortunately. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure you do me a favor. Like, share, subscribe. Click on the bell for a notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returning, so you already know what it is, baby. Mineral gang. Mineral gang. You got the minerals. You got the minerals. Alright, cool. Let's talk about it. Don't forget as well, join the Mineral Gang crew by grabbing your merchandise as well. Guys, it's a mad thing, is it not? Why? Because we've got John Gray, pastor, I believe is at Relentless Church, who has, unfortunately, there is smoke now beginning to bellow from the medias and the blocks. Why? Because a woman who claims to be the sister of another famous pastor called Eric Brewer, who lost his wife, unfortunately, condolences, I believe early this year as well, Holly Brewer. And, due to that, that actually is what initiated events here towards John Gray actually contacting her. So what would happen was that she must have Mary, the woman in the video, and so there was a video that was done by Unwind Tashak. That was on her page, basically. And the video is of John Gray and him talking to the camera about how...
But I speak out of honor because honor covers. But when things hit the fan, it is my hope that you will cover me in prayer. Ain't that right, son? What do you eat every day? Pizza. In the oven. From DiGiorno's. Because that's what you have to do to feed when ain't nobody cooking. And that's the truth. But I saw what you did there, Mary. I saw what you did. You got an hour to get ready. We're going to Cabo. So, bring your mask and your favorite two-piece, because we out. You know what you could do? You could send the Cancun pic, or pics from Cancun. That would serve to satisfy the fake bet, which you've already been compensated for. What's that? And brisket. How about that? Your own brisket. And we're doing baked beans with the hamburger meat, mashed potatoes. We do some fresh corn. I don't know if any of these are vegetables or sides that you want. But if you want other sides, all you got to do is let me know. See what I'm saying? Chef John.
And so the video on its own is really circumstantial. I mean, it's nothing heavy. Like, we don't know who Mary is. It could be anything, could be anybody. He doesn't say anything explicit. But when you add that to the testimony of the apparent Mary, then we have an issue. All right, and then we have to put two and two together and say we got 4. You know what I'm saying? 2 plus 2 is 4. Quick maths, you know what I mean? So what happens is obviously that her story was simple as this. She said obviously that she you know, she was contacted by John. You know, he decided that he wanted to help her out, to do something nice for her brother.
And where did y'all meet? In what month?
I'm from New Jersey. I live in Houston, but my brother is in New Jersey. He's a pastor, and him and John Gray known each other since they were youth pastors.
What?
So, yeah, my brother. So John Gray didn't know I existed until so my brother's wife passed this April, and he had her memorial on Facebook, and John Gray was speaking. He was one of the speakers. I was like, oh, I didn't know, because I've been following John Gray on Instagram for years. You know, I never bothered him or anything. And so I was like, oh, and to the point where they were still kind of close to where he calls my brother's daughter my niece, his niece. And so I went on his Instagram, and he had just posted a picture of his wife. I said, well, if he just posted this picture, let me just say what I have. You know, what I just said, I told him, I said, thanks for the kind words that you said about my brother, to my brother about his wife. That was very nice.
Now, how old are you? Because you sound young.
As they did that, they got talking. He then called her at her salon, her place of work, and then they exchanged personal numbers. Obviously, she knew who he was because, again, she was a sister of her brother Eric Brewer, and they knew each other for a very long time. So, you know, she's not really thinking anything of it. You know, she's not thinking, oh, he's gonna try and move to me, right? That's not what's on her mind, right? Cool. So obviously, as they then exchange personal numbers, you know, he starts calling her, they start talking. As they start talking over a period of time, then he starts getting comfortable, and then he begins to release what he truly feels. Now, here is the thing, right? Once, twice, 3 times a lady. You know what I mean? Like, when you do it once, you know, I get it. You know what? We all make mistakes, and I don't want to come out a pastor like that. But twice, you got to start asking questions, right? Like, this is repetitive behavior, okay? And so when we see that, obviously, that, you know, he during the process of the conversation with Mary, actually he was asking her for photos of her breast, which she actually said she sent, yeah, because she was enjoying herself, right? And we're going to talk about this as well, side chicks who are intentionally enjoying themselves, right?
I'm not going to prove that. I'm not going to pull out my breast in my workplace, outside my workplace. And, you know, he was, I guess he was in Alabama where his wife is from, because he told me he was getting a divorce. And he said he was at the hotel. He sent me he FaceTimed me. And he was laying, I guess, in the bed, and he was showing me his underwear. He on this white shirt. I was like, oh, my God, what are you doing? And, yeah. And
girl, did you get that screenshot? Please tell me you got that screenshot of that man in his drawers.
No, because I was just, like, so shocked by it all. I wasn't, to be honest, I'm not on that tip with him. And I think he noticed, that's why he stopped talking to me, that, you know, okay, she's not moved by what I got and all this other stuff. And because the reason why he invited me to his house, I'm sure he thought I could have sex with her. And there's no way I'm going to be in his house alone with him. There's no way.
Okay.
So, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Just having fun. I screenshot him. Boob shot. I mean, you don't know whose boob it is. You can't see my face.
Don't talk about that. But obviously, she sent the picture with no face, no case kind of situation. And you know, she's a grown woman. She's not a young girl. She's like 48, but she sounds young. And also as well, he wanted her to come round to his house, okay? Which she didn't go to do. She said she clocked and realized that obviously my man's not really serious about life. He really just wants to sleep with me, right? That's what she clocked. And then she sent the receipts, which I've not seen yet, to Tasha, to Unwind Tashak, with talking about obviously the fact that he was sending her money. Now, here's the thing. We can say, obviously, wow, it's a wild story, but the problem is, some of the patterns of the behavior are similar to the first time this happened. Because the first girl also, he knew her quite well. He had known her since he was 17. And at which point, at the beginning, I remember like John Gray and Aventer were coming out saying they weren't agreeing to what the person was saying. They were denying it, trying to quash the story. So when I heard obviously the fact that, Aventer goes on stage at one point and says obviously,
and then I prayed for them and him, and then the devil loses. Because what's not going to happen is you tell me that I'm going to lose my purpose, because somebody whispered to a 16-year-old John, the devil is a lie. I'm standing with my husband, and you can go on back to the pits of hell where you came.
See, why am I going to get mad about women not going to speak to a 17-year-old John? And it's like, yo, okay, fantastic. But when you link that to the woman's actual testimony, who they're talking about, okay?
Taunting him, like back and forth. But everybody thought that they were praying for other stuff. And they were actually fighting against each other.
That is crazy. So you known John how many years now?
Oh, about 20.
More than 20. Because I think you know him before you know me.
Yeah, I've known him. We worked at a clothing store when I was 17. We worked at a clothing store together.
This is not Mary, it's another woman, by the way. But the actual woman that they're actually talking about, she goes on to say, yes, I've known John since I was 17. And not only that, okay, we slept together.
Taunting him, like back and forth. But everybody thought that they were praying for other stuff. And they were actually fighting against each other.
That is crazy. So you known John how many years now?
Oh, about 20.
More than 20. Because I think you know him before you know me.
Yeah, I've known him. We worked at a clothing store when I was 17. We worked at a clothing store together in Ohio.
See, I grew up Pentecostal. I got non-denominational. I think I started getting sick. Literally, continue to see all these people post him, repost him on Instagram, repost him on Facebook. It was so motherfucking much. I had one of my white clients. A white client was like, cause he was on CNN with the Lambo gift, and she was like, "Why would a pastor do that?" And I was like, "Oh," and so that's what really, like, he is selling. He is wrong. Him, not just him, a whole bunch of them are wrong. He's selling souls and he's selling dreams, and like they acting like he's not profiting from the church. He wouldn't be who he was if it wasn't for the church.
I knew
that's
all
why
of that.
I'm angry about the whole situation.
That's why I'm pissed off.
Because like, not only like I said, we've been friends for so long. And I told him the stuff that I was going. I actually am going through a divorce right now because of domestic violence. And I pretty much left my husband and I left with nothing because I couldn't take it. And I was like, I'm not about to do this. And he knew that I had nothing. And see, this is what he would do. He would be like, it was almost to the point where, like, he was telling me that, and I always knew that he liked me. I always did. He's
very pretty.
He's always had this thing for me. With all the stuff that I had been through, all the, and no, like financially, like I said, I was struggling and this and that and the other. This is what he would do to me. He would call.
We were physical, to which John Gray says they weren't physical. Okay, it was an emotional affair. But the person said it was physical. Now, what?
So, did you have an affair? And if so, when did it start?
The answer is no, I didn't. But over a year ago.
What would give them the impetus to lie and say it was physical? Like, you've already sent them the money. Like, do you know what I mean? They're not getting any more money out of you. So what would be the impetus for them to lie and say, I was sleeping with him when you're saying it's an emotional affair? What would be an emotional affair, but then you would invite the person, the woman, to be in the same hotel as Aventer? Tell me why that would need to be emotional and that's not physical. But then you say, obviously, you've met her once. Being in the presence of a woman is not a problem. Okay, but why is that woman being in the same hotel as your missus? That was a previous time. So do you see the patterns here? Finances get sent. And she also described the fact that during that period of time when they were talking, she was also in a divorce at the time. I'm trying to show you this because I'm highlighting patterns of behavior. The woman Mary now, who's now accusing the new woman, also said that at the time, we knew that he wanted to help her, do something nice for her brother. Bear in mind, her sister-in-law has passed away. That's her brother's wife. Okay, so vulnerable time. Come here now, your friend also too, who you've known since 17, is going through a divorce. Vulnerable time. And so now what you're doing is you're using that time to access them to say, I'm here to support you, I'm here to help. Okay, cool. So now as you're offering that help, you're going above.
Because, like, not only, like I said, we've been friends for so long. And I told him the stuff that I was going, I actually am going through a divorce right now because of domestic violence. And I pretty much left my husband and I left with nothing because I couldn't take it. And I was like, I'm not about to do this. And he knew that I had nothing. And see, this is what he would do. He would be like, it was almost to the point where, like, he was telling me that, you know, and I always knew that he liked me. I always did. He's
very pretty.
He's always had this thing for me. With all the stuff that I had been through, all the, you know, and no, like financially, like I said, I was struggling and this and that and the other. This is what he would do to me. He would come
and beyond, yeah? You're taking a step further, right? You're abusing your position of power. And I can tell you it's a form of manipulation. I can tell you it's not naivety. I can tell you this because I know, like, when we were younger, let me be very frank with you. When I was younger, when I was new in the faith, you know, as you're firing for God, you got loads of people looking up to you, and most people want to know God as well. And those people want to get in contact with you because they can see that you're firing, right? Especially women. Right? And so you get into situations where women are coming to you, shedding their mind, shedding their heart, telling you stories, right? And you as an individual, as a 22-year-old I was, right, firing for God, okay? And here's a two-part play. I've got to be very frank with you because I know the tactics. The person's come to you, yeah, and they're saying like they want your help, right? You start off by helping, and then you allow your standards to slip because of power. Number one, you allow your standards to slip because of validity. Number two, you let your standards slip. Number three, because you can. You're entitled. Okay? And then there's number four, you desire something. Temptation overrides you. What is that temptation? To get what you want to get, right? Which is that sense of validation from having access to women. Right? It's a form of power, it's a form of validity, it makes you excited because you may not have had it when you were younger. That's the truth. That is just the absolute truth. And when you look at John Gray's background, let's see where he started from. He always talks about, I was a broken young man. And, you know, people are not realizing that my marriage wasn't in trouble now. My marriage was in trouble when I was a 4-year-old, 5-year-old on the front.
From years ago. So things that happened in my marriage predated my marriage. The brokenness in me happened when I was 4 years old, when I was abused on the front lawn of 806 East Mitchell. And so from then till now, I'm still trying to find myself.
On my lawn, getting abused by someone. Fine, listen, we all acknowledge that, listen, abuse can lead to a very hypersexualized individual, right? No play with that, right? We can agree to that. Where it has to start, you have to start taking responsibility is when you start to bring people into your world and take advantage of them, right? So what he's doing now is almost trying to, and I said this in another video, which is that we try to answer the questions of our childhood in our adulthood. So now this broken young man is now a grown-ass man, 40-something years old, okay, trying to answer these questions, but at the same time also trying to get his power back. You see, when you're 5 and you've been stripped and you've been molested, okay, by someone, all right, abused by someone sexually, there's a psychological damage that gets done, right? When you realize that you've been taken advantage of. Your power's been taken from you. That's what rape is about. It's about power. So that person's taking your power, taking your autonomy, taking your sovereignty at that moment. And so what can happen is that a person's mindset can go into, I want my power back. I want my autonomy back. I want to have my sovereignty back, right? I want to take over. Right? And then that can go into a negative space where you begin to rob other people in order to make yourself feel better. But you don't feel better overall. Yeah, it's a momentary excitement. So the same thing is here is happening to John Gray. That he, you know, as a person who's robbed of their power, he's now using situations where people are vulnerable to manipulate them into a situation where he can get sex or get some type of validation, emotional, sexual, kind of physical behavior from the other individual, and that will give him a sense of power. That will help him attain that power that he's craving for, not because he necessarily is a power-hungry person, but because he's not understanding what he's about.
And the point is this, it went from helping to something in me that was empty, that was connecting to something that needed to be validated.
I'm not excusing him, I'm just kind of explaining the behavior. Do you feel me? All right, cool. So in a situation with the other person, before Mary, last 2 years problem that he had, that woman was vulnerable because she was just finishing her relationship, her marriage, and she was in a financial situation too. So what did John promise? John began to promise, I'm going to financially help you. He paid off her BMW. He gave her money through Cash App. You know, he did all these kind of things, right? And did a whole bunch of things. And you know what, got probably, and she said something which is very, really key and very, very important to understand the psyche of why things happen. She said, and this is why I say to people like although I'm looking at John Gray and saying you're moving mad, I'm also looking at the side chick as well, because you know exactly what you're doing. Don't pretend as if that just because you were vulnerable you didn't know what you're doing. Like, you weren't a kid, you were a grown-ass adult and you knew what you were doing. Okay, so she says in her thing, I always knew John liked me. I always knew John liked me from very, very young dot. So you knew he liked you, right? He's now making advancements.
Where, like, he was telling me that, you know, and I always knew that he liked me. I always did. He has. He's
very pretty.
He's always had this thing for me. With all the stuff that I have been through, all the, you know, and no, like financially, like I said, I was struggling.
Okay, towards you, and you didn't stop. Why? Because you two also are taking advantage. You saw an open door, you took it. Let's be very frank and very real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a two-part process, but we're talking about John because Avatar has no words to say to a side chick. Why? Because she's a side chick. She's got nothing to do with your relationship. Regardless of what she influences your relationship, she isn't in your relationship. You can only deal with a person who's in your relationship. All right, cool. So, like I said, that woman also too was in a vulnerable position in the sense of the fact that she was just divorced, finishing a divorce and trying to sort things out. She had no money, John Gray's promise and finances, all that kind of stuff. Yes, you know, they slept together, she said as well, right? So that's an established pattern. To come to now Mary, and a similar pattern is established here. You know your position, you know this person is vulnerable in the state as well, that they may be affected by their brother's wives passing and stuff like that. They're not in the season that they're not in their, you know, their good season at the moment. And so that can be a vulnerable time for an individual person. But you chose to strike then and there. Why? Because apparently Avatar was out on business at that time. First of all, I want to say this, look, never put a pastor on a pedestal. Never do it. Just don't put a pastor on a pedestal. Why do I say that? Because pastors are human beings. Okay, we put God on a pedestal because he is God. God is still God. God is still God. God is still God. You understand? Yeah? But I want to also break this down as well. What is cheating? Because, you know, when we look at cheating, many people have different definitions. So we have cheating is an act that breaks the relationship agreement between you and a partner. Truth of the matter is that how many of us go into a relationship and actually define the rules of engagement? How many of us define what is acceptable, what's not acceptable? Until we've met what's not acceptable, right? And so it's almost like a hidden spoken rule or set of rules that we go by. Due to the fact that we have social cues and social norms and social practices in the society that we live in. But every society's got social practices that we do. Every society's got social responsibility that we agree to, right? Every society works that way, right? So we all know not to go and cheat because society tells us from very early cheating is wrong, right? Having more than one partner, okay, whilst partner doesn't know, it's wrong, yeah? And so we don't often discuss these social rules and cues. We go by it naturally because of what we've been reared up in that society. And so I want to discuss as well, because it's an interesting thing. Mark 12 verse 31 says, love thy neighbor as thyself. Well, if you love thy neighbor as thyself, you won't be doing things that you know that you'll find offensive. If you know you find it offensive, why would you do it to your partner? Makes no sense. So when you begin to act like that, Jesus has already spoken. He really lets us know about how to deal with relationships. Do it as if you're doing it to yourself. This point is also backed up in Ephesians 5, where it says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Why? Because it's getting to understand that when you begin to do that and begin to operate in that level, okay, you don't do yourself dirty. Because you have to look at this as well. And Jewish custom was that when it came to divorce, it was the men that could only divorce. Women, it was a very long process. If a woman was going to try and divorce, it was a very long process, very difficult. Most of the time it was men divorcing a woman. And so we're going to read the scripture in Malachi 2 to kind of back it up and give you an understanding of something. But the truth of the matter is this, that men needed to love their wives as Christ loved the church. Do you understand? There's meant to be a sacrificial type of love here when it comes to certain situations. All right, cool. Malachi 2, verse 13 to 16. I'm going to read it and bring you guys in as to what God is saying about this particular thing. So, Malachi 2, verse 13 to 16. This is another thing that you do. You drown the Lord's altars with tears, weeping and wailing, because he no longer accepts the offerings you bring him. You ask why he no longer accepts them. It is because he knows you have broken your promise to the wife you married when you were young. She was your partner and you have broken your promise to her. Although you promised before God that you would be faithful to her. Deep what God is saying is, listen, saying this, look. She was your partner and you have broken your promise to her. Although you promised before God that you would be faithful to her. Do you understand? God is addressing the priest at this particular scripture. He's addressing the priest and letting them know, listen, you guys are moving mad. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not loving your wives as you're supposed to be. Instead, you're out here divorcing, doing whatever you feel like doing, and I have a problem with that, right? And he goes on to say, verse 15, didn't God make you one body and spirit with her? What was his purpose in this? It was that you should have children who are God's people. So make sure that none of you breaks his promise to his wife. I hate divorce, says the Lord God of Israel. I hate it when one of you does such a cruel thing to his wife. Listen to what he's saying. I hate divorce, as the Lord God of Israel. I hate it when one of you does such a cruel thing to his wife. Make sure that you do not break your promise to be faithful to your wife. So deep it. The promise of being faithful is a promise. And in fact, we see later on in Peter, he says, obviously, make sure you treat your wife correctly, because otherwise your prayers could be hindered. Don't play with it, my Jack. Don't play with it. If she decides to start praying now, anybody's in trouble. You understand? So understand this. So God has a very firm position on divorce. He hates the fact that you're not keeping your covenants. You're keeping your promises by breaking it, by being unfaithful to your missus as well. And so, just want to bring this well. Like again, the evidence here is that obviously this is Eric Brewer, a pastor also. But his sister Mary Brewer, who's also in the video that John is addressing the Mary in or whatever, she's obviously the one that he's talking to. He talks about obviously providing food for his son, and it's not being done by Avatar, and then uses his son to answer the question, what do you eat every day? And he says pizza, and it's like, yo, so you're gonna use your son to move to Gal? Come on, fam. Is that what you're really doing out here? Cuz that is a bit mad. You understand? Some of the excuses that you hear from men when they're trying to get you on side, when they want to use you to get their fun out of when they're in a relationship. So many people have heard this before. You might have met a married man and you might have heard some of the excuses before. Some of them are, my wife don't do anything, she doesn't do oral, I'm gonna leave my wife for you, one time thing, you're better than my wife, I'm divorcing her for you, right? When you hear those kind of bars, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to say thank you very much. Fly like a bird, I wanna fly away. I don't know where my heart is. I don't know where my soul is. I'm gone. You understand? Why? Because you're chatting breeze, bruh. You're now chatting the pups and the wuskers. Do you understand? And I'm not about it. You understand? So ladies, when you hear those type of excuses, in fact, comment down below. Let us know some of your thoughts. What are some of the excuses that you hear married men make in order to get you on side? Let us know down below. All right, cool. And the reason why women stay in these type of relationships are because they don't want to look like a failure. Okay, they want to prove people wrong, that they didn't marry the wrong person. They're in denial that all of this is happening. They fear change. You know what I'm saying? And there's money and finances tied into this relationship. And there's a perfect image of themselves that they've built, and they refuse to get it shattered. You understand? So you have to understand that these scams, I call them scams, manipulation that these men do to their wives and to other women who are going to be falling prey to them is that they want to put you in a highly emotional state. Why? If they can put you in a highly emotional state, you stop thinking logically. You start thinking properly. And so if I put you in an emotional state, I'm trying to make you feel so that you react out of your feelings. I'm trying to make you feel so that you can begin to act out of your feelings. You know when the Holy Spirit just drops it in your spirit and you actually feel the heat as he dropped it? Do you understand? So, because it's very similar to how scammers work, right?
I guess he was in Alabama where his wife is from, because he told me he was getting a divorce, and he said he was at the hotel. He sent me he FaceTimed me, and he was laying, I guess.
It's very similar to what scammers do to you. I mean, they get you highly emotive, touch your heartstrings, try to get you in an emotional state, and then they hit you with the scam. Why? Because they want to get then they can make you think unlogically. And here are the three things that often come about when it's unlogical thinking: desperation. When you feel like no one's gonna love you, no one's gonna come for you, no one's gonna be there for you, you're never gonna have the one. You get desperate and you make moves that are desperate. Fear. You fear that, oh look, nobody will love me. Again, the same kind of thing. No one loves me, no one cares for me, no one's ever loved me. I fear, and here's a real fear. The fear is that I will be alone. I will be alone, right? That fear, okay? I'm just giving you an example. And then number three is the fact there's a greed on the person's part. So the person who is being scammed has got greed, okay? Look, you've got a partner already, and you want more. Why? You've already got a partner. You've already got money in the bank. But then you see the scam coming through the email saying, your dead uncle in Africa has got £10 million waiting for you. No, my friend. Yep, my friend. Slow down. I just want to get to know you. Slow down. You know what I'm saying? Slow down and understand what's being said to you. Don't let your emotions run to a point where you're not able to think logically. Do you understand? Yeah? Don't let them get you into that. They want to put you in an emotional state, right? So that's why there's excuses about, I'm going to leave my wife for you. You know, you're the one for me. I've never met anybody like you. What they're tapping into is trying to get you to think, oh, I'm special. I'm significant. He only wants me. Lies. A liar damn tale. Listen, if a guy tells you, love, let me tell you, if a guy tells you, I'm leaving my wife for you, God, he's a cold-blooded liar. He ain't leaving nothing. He ain't leaving nothing. He would have done it already if he was. He would have done it already. He would have dusted it off. He ain't doing it. Am I saying that that every single time that a guy doesn't do it? There are times where guys do it, but majority of the time these guys are lying, trying to get you into a place that you don't want to be in.
I believe that there was a situation that had to happen for us to grow.
Storm to get to something better. Like, it's so hard to understand, John. Why do we go through that?
I think it's...
You know, there was another video where someone, obviously, she went through a storm, and went through a storm. And here's another thing as well that happens when people are in a relationship, marriage especially, because obviously you've committed for life now. You know, you hear words like, I call it buzzwords, and you hear words like, you know, we're going for a storm, you know, and Satan, and another thing is this, to add on to that, and Satan came in and he's putting us through a storm, and God's allowing this storm to shape us. Let me tell you something, yeah?
Amen. I'm not saying to sit there in perpetual foolishness. I'm saying to pray the devils away. If you give up too soon, he wins. But he couldn't have this purpose. He knew what this was, and he was coming for y'all. That's why he came for us. We know better. We know better. I see you, devil, but you don't want it with me. I get in the eyes of the devil. Do you hear me? You can't have this here, devil. I don't care. I just look cute, but the devil don't want it with me. I put scripture on that strange woman. I put scripture on that strange woman.
The person decided. The storm ain't from God. God ain't trying to put you in a storm. And God ain't really trying to teach you no lesson. The whole point is that you're learning a lesson through someone's pain, though. Let me be very frank with you. You are learning a lesson through through pain, though. God didn't let the person come and cheat on you. They cheat on you because they decided to do that. They have free will and autonomy, just like Adam and Eve in the garden. So John has created the storm. Not Satan, not God, not the angelic beings, not the devils, not the demons. It's a you thing. Whereas when you see it in the Bible, right, you see Paul and you see Jesus. There's a time where Jesus is going to Gethsemane, going to Gadarenes, right? He's going to cross the seas. I think it's Mark 5. There's a storm that comes up, and I believe that storm was demonic. Why? Because they're trying to stop him from getting to the other side to free the man who had 1,000 demons in him, the legion in him. Another time is when Paul is going to, I can't remember where he's going to, but he's going to preach and he's trying to get to Caesar, to go and preach to Caesar about the gospel of Jesus Christ. And as he's going there on a boat, there's a shipwreck. I might say that's demonic. Why? Take him out of the game, he doesn't go and preach to Caesar, right? He doesn't go and fulfill his calling and potential. Do you feel me? So I can see where that storms can be demonic when the thing is about the person going to do good. Not when you've done bad. That bad that you've done is created your own storm. You see, the Bible talks about the fact that we know that when you give your life to Christ, listen to me very carefully. You give your life to Christ, okay? Your sins are counted no more. So yes, you committed adultery, but you're not going to hell for it. Guess what's going to happen though? Consequence, which has always been the case. There will be a consequence for your partner, consequence for you, for your family, and anybody outside of that who's in a close proximity. Why? Because they'll get dragged into the black hole. Okay? It's going to create a consequence. That can't be erased. So these buzzwords like storms and stuff like that, listen, that ain't a storm, baby. Okay? That ain't a storm. That is him causing it to rain. That is him causing great overclouds. That is him rocking the boat. That's him causing blustery winds. No one else. That's his behavior causing a backlash. They said obviously about, the truth of the matter is, so the past relation that happened, okay, the past relation that happened, like I said, there was discrepancy in the story, but they came out and said obviously the truth of their story is that, look, they were both helping this woman, okay? But the truth of the matter is, Avatar didn't know everything. She knew about one voicemail. She said it, she admitted it. But she didn't know about all the voicemails. The voicemails where he's saying, obviously, delete all the voicemails, my wife knows about us, etc., etc. So listen here, listen to this. So, emotional adultery, never physical, but you want to make sure this woman, from the past relationship, we're not talking about Mary now, past relationship, you want to delete all the emails and messages. Why? Because it incriminates you, right? Beyond just emotional, right? People like this, not like whether you had sex literally, okay, with the person literally. What was said by that woman was that you were masturbating on video camera, right? And it's also said by Mary that you.
He FaceTimed me, and he was laying, I guess, in the bed, and he was showing me his underwear. He on his white shirt. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? And
girl, did you get that screenshot? Please tell me you got that screenshot.
You were in your shorts before she knew it. You were in your boxers on camera. So we can see already that even though you didn't have sex physically, you keep saying or whatever, there is some type of sexual behavior going on. It's not just emotional, it's sexual. You understand? And trust me, from a person who's cheated and been cheated on, I know what I'm talking about when he talks about this. I know exactly what a person's going through at that mindset. You feel me? And not only that as well, obviously we know that, as well, in this conversation that I was watching the video, Avatar is actually quite talkative, and I see that her behavior is very, I already knew all of this stuff, you lot are trying to tell me stuff, but I already knew it, like, you can't embarrass me anymore, like, I already know everything, like, nothing you're going to say is going to change my mind, but the truth of the matter is, there is things that you don't know. But that energy she's given, I believe, is a self-defense mechanism to try and defend herself from looking foolish, right? She doesn't want to look foolish. So it's almost like she's trying to defend herself, right? And so you see this energy that comes out to defend him, right? And the reason I mention that is because obviously, again, in the video of Mary, in the conversation with Mary, Mary's also saying, listen, I don't know what's wrong with Avatar. She keeps defending him.
Well, he is. Does somebody have to have sex with him in front of you? For you to open up your eyes to see he don't love you. He don't want to be with you.
Silly woman. Silly. Some women like to be silly though.
Yeah, I don't know. She real. I mean, I didn't know she was.
Like, yo, she's silly for this. Like, he isn't faithful. Like, he's not about it, etc. And so I hear that woman. I hear Mary's thoughts, but I also understand, Avatar as well. It's not just easy to pack up and just leave. It looks easy, but it's not when you're on that end. Do you know what I'm saying? So I understand that. I just obviously saw as well when they're having an interview that where she kind of overrided John. And it's not the first time I've seen this as well from her. There was a lie that they did. I can't remember who it was. But the way she spoke, she overrided him. Like, so he didn't give him a voice. And, sometimes you don't realize some people can be very dominating, but I don't know if that's her being dominating because of the incident originally last year, or whether this is the dominant, that's how
And then I prayed for them and him, and then the devil loses.
Concern, but
and I want to jump
we've
in
been
too.
serving people for with our lives. We had
and again, just to kind of bring you back to understand something about John Gray and why he cheated. Interesting enough, he said something. He said these words. He said he admits he was trying to find out who likes him for him.
Hoping to something in me that was empty, that was connecting to something that needed to be validated.
Why? This guy grew up with no parents. He's looking for validation. We're looking for love and attention. Okay. Now, didn't get it from his parents. So where do you go to outside of that parameters, right? So now you got a man who's searching for this attention, but also this validation as well. And women can be this validation for a temporary amount of time. That when you get a buff gal, a sexy girl that's high status caliber to what you think you are, then you get excited because you're thinking to myself, I've caught a big fish. I must be levels. I must be great. I must be amazing. I must be top notch. So a part of you getting these girls or trying to get these girls is a part of your validation. It's about you coming to a place of feeling good about yourself. And he says to them, listen, I didn't know who liked me for me. I think he likes choosing these certain girls because when he feels that they like him, it means again they like me for me. Right? Regardless of the fact that I'm paying money, etc., etc. But having these buff girls or pretty girls, whatever girls we go and choose from, it makes me feel wanted. It makes me feel desired. It makes me feel like somebody actually wants me. No beef.
And I'm still trying to figure out who likes me for me. And so I'm thinking people from home know me. Long story short, the conversations became more involved because there was challenges in my marriage, and instead of going to my wife and my God and my trusted counselors, I went to somebody else.
Avatar, but the point is I've heard as well from the other lady that he was never sexually attracted to Avatar. That's a problem. Here's why. Because then what happens is if you think that you're not sexually attracted to Avatar, you don't think she's hot, you don't think she's buff, you don't think she's a level, then you're not getting the validation that you wanted, right? Because we're broken people, so let's be honest. So there's a feeling, and someone might call it trophy wife. I don't call it that. I just call it attention and feeding your ego. That when you choose a partner, sometimes you choose a partner that you want to buff babes, buff man, buff girl. Why? Because it validates and says to people, you're great. It says that you're amazing. Whatever game you've got must be strong. You understand? And so if you're not sexually attracted to Avatar, she can't give you that validation. Why? Because you were never sexually attracted to her. You didn't think she was levels. Therefore, you go out to get other girls to make you feel like you're levels. You feel me? Listen, I've been here, cuz. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. That you want that validation, you want that glory, you want people to say to you, man, you're levels, guys, for getting that gal. Or even if you don't do it, if you don't do it and show the world, the fact that you know that you're getting to get this type of girls coming to you, bro, that want to chop things. Oh, it makes you feel excited. It makes you feel, oh my God. You understand? I'm just saying.
He's not right. He's just, and his wife is so silly. You know, she's just, I go so hard for my husband. I'm like, he keeps doing this to you. What will make you believe that?
And so obviously with this particular situation with John Gray, what I would say is that listen, the woman that said obviously she came out Mary, she was trying to get on to Avatar, saying she's kind of silly for staying in a relationship, dumb for staying in a relationship. I mean, the way that she's talking about Avatar makes me think, how about yourself? You entered and engaged and sent your breast, whether you showed your face or not, to Pastor John Gray when you knew that he hadn't finished the relationship with her. You knew that. You understand? Like, you're probably feeling away too. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you can't spin and shoot Avatar for being dumb and thinking that, oh, her man will change. When you two yourself as a side chick know that John Gray's moving mad and then you participate in the madness, deep it. What sense does that make for us, right? So you're not in no better position. But the problem is this, the side chick always gets excited. Why? Because for them, they're able to steal somebody else's man. They're able to take they're able to take what someone else has had. They're able to acquire it. And it's like I'm borrowing in it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want it fully. I just want to know that I can get it, right? And that gives me a sense of an inflated ego and a sense of inflated ego and in a sense of inflated, basically making yourself feel like you're really amazing, innit? You're great. Like it feeds that ego. You know what I'm saying? And so for the side chick, they also too don't care about Avatar. You understand? They don't care. Why? Because they're getting theirs. As long as they're getting theirs, they're happy. As long as they're getting their money from him, they're happy. Right? They'll do whatever. But the truth of the matter is, with the Mary situation, you know, she's come out, she said it, and we're going to have to wait and see what John Gray and Aventer come up with. But obviously the last time they did it, they were doing shade upon shade on the pulpit, man. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, listen, John Gray is not 17. He's not 5. He's a grown-ass man with kids. And his behavior is going to cause issues in the relationship long term. This is going to affect the relationship long term. Because at the end of the day, you've broken the covenant between yourself and the wife. Do you feel me? So I think obviously as well, not only that as well, he was at the time as well, maybe it's a year or two ago, he was also, you know, counseling, Latoya Luckett and her husband, you know what I'm saying, Tom Iescas. And so then you have to ask yourself, what kind of information could you give to them because you're out in the streets? What information are you going to give to them? And is that information real? Is it trustworthy? You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, the whole thing here is that obviously, you know, during the last time, obviously, they got here, you know, he was on the Real, he was on different blog sites, just talking about the experience, talking about how she's a lid, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, he was doing damage control. And here's another thing as well. One thing you must know about cheating is this as well. When people cheat, there's one of the ways that men often give themselves away is that they buy expensive gifts. It's called a defense mechanism called undoing. And the undoing basically means that when you feel guilty, you try to make up for it. You atone it. You try to atone for it by giving a gift. So when you're talking about obviously men giving gifts, what did he give Aventer last time? A £250,000 Porsche, right? Which many people were saying, oh, is that the church money? Irrespective, it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, that amount of gift which he said obviously he had bought from last year, apparently this is what he bought last year, this was not something that was on the spur of the moment thing. But all I'm going to say is obviously sometimes when you see a guy giving a luscious gift, a very lavish gift.
Before I became the pastor of that church, I was an author. We also have other shows and streams of income. My wife is who I want to bless as a man. Now, I'm not saying that makes it understandable. I understand why people who go to church feel a certain way. But here's the truth. Nobody knows the things that I know about, you know, our life, our marriage. Nothing is promised. Our health, nothing is promised. So I said, before this year is out, I'm going to do whatever I can, work as hard as I can to make my dream come true to bless my wife. Amen. She didn't know.
Well, so yeah, obviously John Gray has given, you know, so much, has obviously allegedly again has been alleged to be accused of cheating. What I would say is that if he keeps saying that there's a 5-year-old boy that's broken, it needs to be spoken to, that's fine. Go and sit down, take the therapy, come back stronger. But we as a body of Christ do not need this consistent behavior of cheating. You need to step down, go and take a break, recuperate, recover, enjoy. You've got enough money to do so. Sit down and chill. Yes, people may be relying on you, but they will rely on somebody. They don't need to rely on you. They need to rely on Jesus. Another person can replace you. It's as simple as that. Another person can replace you. It's not a necessity to have you there. You know, and Aventer may stay, and the reason why she may stay because the fear of failure, the fear of other people telling you, we told you so from the last time, right? And so that can make her hold on even more than she really needs to. I really believe that, especially when she's got a women's ministry, she really has a duty towards women's ministry. She needs to be able to go and lead her ministry and not have John in the foreground. He can be in the background, still getting the work that he needs to get with the therapy, but she needs to obviously keep on doing what she's doing. Obviously, she's not the one that's committed any adultery here. If she wants to work on her marriage, do it in silence. Let John be able to work things out, okay, before he gets to the foreground. Because you see, when you don't allow yourself to do the background work, when you get to the foreground, you're gonna mess it up, okay? So the background is so important in order to get you to the foreground. Okay, the background work is the foundation to the foreground. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to even. This wasn't to gossip. This was to let people know. Listen, cheating can happen. Like, your position of power opens you up to different women and gives you a different level of power. But the truth of the matter is, you're meant to look after your power responsibly. You're meant to not use your power, even though you have it. Do you understand? I don't think there's anything else to say. I think that's clear cut. Yeah, I want to leave it there and say, guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for a notification of the